All right, you guys, welcome back to the show. Today we are doing another POV video. If you guys do like these videos, we'll put them out. I really love doing them in addition to the normal reviews and the normal features. Modified cars, we'll try to do them as well. It's just more of a time thing and getting the owner out. But for manufacturer vehicles like this, it's relatively easy to get out on the road and go for a drive. So this is the 2020 Genesis G70 3.3T. So it has a twin turbo 3.3 liter V6 under the hood. That is basically the underlying kind of the heartbeat, if you will, of the Genesis G70 that you should really pay attention to. The car isn't crazy looking from the outside. It's not super shouty. The interior here, while yes, a step up absolutely from the standard Hyundai lineup, you've got Alcantara on the A-pillars here, Alcantara on the headliner, and a bunch of leather. You've got perforated leather on the steering wheel. You've got heated seats, heated steering wheel, ventilated seats, which is cool. And then you have nice leather trim on the dash and stuff. So it does feel like a Hyundai, but of course it does have the Genesis badge here. Enough with the boring driving here. We have our first corner coming up, so that means we'll put the car into sport mode. I'm gonna shut up for the most part, and we'll just kind of go for a drive and feel it out. So the Genesis G70 does have all-wheel drive, and let me tell you, it really needs it. This thing has 376 pound-feet of torque. That's exactly why I said basically the only thing you need to know and pay attention to is that twin-turbo V6 under the hood, because any non-enthusiast who maybe is looking to take this out on a test drive or go for a drive, the normies, as it were, may not even know that. So it's surprisingly quick. Really, really torquey engine. The power band reminds me of, most recently at least, to the Infiniti Q60 Red Sport that we drove that had about 400 horsepower, and that as well was a twin turbo V6. So what you get, as you can see on the power band here, redline 7, but you really, if you're in manual mode, you really want to be shifting before then, because peak torque is from like 1500 RPM all the way to 4. And that's, again, almost 400 pound-feet of torque. So I mean, that's an easy 15 kilometers an hour. Easy. And if you roll on from 3,000 RPM in fourth gear, you can see. I mean, we just accelerated 60K from a roll. The G70 3.3 as well. This one is optioned with the Brembos. So it's got the Brembo brake package. So you do have a little bit of stopping power, as I'm sure some of you are wondering. To get behind that horsepower, in order to match it, you definitely need those brakes. The brakes do feel warped, to be honest. This press car is about to be retired from the fleet, I believe. It's about 6,000 kilometers over the lifetime of the car, and obviously these are writers and journalists and video makers that have driven this car and probably really bagged on it. So all right, we're in sport mode. We're just gonna give it the beans from 0 and see what she can do. Let's go. Not bad. It's got a lot of power and it's smooth. When you're in boost though, you guys, you need to realize this is why most manufacturers are now going small displacement 4-cylinder turbos, or even a turbo hybrid system versus something like this, which is just a big displacement V6. Because when you're in boost, you suck down so much fuel. It is absolutely, it is so ridiculous how much fuel you do actually suck down. But it can be fairly economical when you're, you know, on the freeway and in the taller gears, for sure. But you definitely have to be aware of how much fun you're having, that's for sure. See, 8th gear here, it is an 8-speed automatic. It is not a dual clutch. So you might notice I am using the paddles, but there is actually no dedicated manual mode. So I can put it into drive and it will let me, if I click the paddles, it will shift. But then if I leave the paddles alone for a short period of time, it'll always automatically go back to drive, or that's the way it seems. So it's not catered to the sport market. That's what the Hyundai's N line is for, and that's exactly why the Veloster N has a dual clutch, and this has an 8-speed auto that's not a dual clutch. 1, because it makes a lot more torque, and 2, well, because because that's just how it is. That's what the Genesis G70 is. And that's kind of why it looks like a BMW from the back. I don't know if you guys agree with me on that, but it definitely takes some styling from the Europeans. I mean, if you are a driving enthusiast and you need a sedan and you need a big sedan and you're looking for a budget option that is fast as hell and is gonna fly under the radar, I think the Genesis is exactly right for you. That's who I think this is for. Fairly responsive on the upshift, actually fairly impressive. The 8-speed's good. The 8-speed's very good. The 3.3 turbo actually does have variable steering as well. So the ratio of the steering rack actually can change. And it does change when you get into sport mode. It definitely tightens up a little bit. And that is something that I would not necessarily expect from the Genesis lineup, especially their bigger sedan like the G70. But it feels good. There's not as much steering feel there as you would like. Absolutely not as much as the Veloster N or any of the other kind of Korean, or even the Kia Stinger. That's another great example of a competitor to this vehicle, but that airs much more on the side of the sports kind of driving, enthusiast driving, whereas this is more of a, you know, your standard luxury SUV, your standard luxury sedan that has all of this tech and options. That's the key. You can option all the luxuries that you want, and it just feels high quality, much higher quality than the Kia Stinger, especially on the interior here. Driving dynamics are good. They're absolutely not where Hyundai could be and where I think Genesis can land in the future, but it's a start. It's definitely a good start. Dynamically, the car is still a little bit, it gets unsettled easily. Especially in sport mode, I find the throttle mapping is extremely twitchy, far too twitchy for definitely if you're you know, driving 8, 9 tenths on the road and you give it, it's very easy to unsettle the car because the throttle is so sensitive, and it's very easy to give it too much gas when you're exiting a corner. A lot of lean. It leans a lot. All right, you guys, hopefully you enjoyed this quick POV behind the wheel perspective of the 2020 Genesis G70 3.3T. It's not all about what's on the outside, you guys. Sometimes what's under the hood is all that really matters, and the G70 is a perfect example of that. If you are power hungry and torque hungry and crave that, that feeling like me. Anyways, you guys, thanks so much for watching. You can subscribe if you have not already. We've got a huge series of Fast and Furious replica cars that we shot in Edmonton recently. That is coming out very soon. As well, we have a bunch of modified car features that we're going to be putting out in the next few weeks. And then hopefully going into the winter, we can find some vehicles with snow tires and stuff, or, you know, drifting in the rain, and have some fun even with the cold weather. So until then, we'll see you next time.